Do you guys do anything extra fun? Do you take a bunch of time off? I feel like
Yeah,
otherwise you
yeah, we
take some time off.
definitely we backlogged a lot of videos just so we could have a few weeks off for Christmas and such. So yeah, it's been nice to be home. It's been home for like 2 weeks now, and then we'll be going to somewhere. I don't really know actually in January. We haven't planned that yet.
Yeah, yeah. What's the backlog process like? Is that like a huge grind to like get ahead with that many videos?
Um, it it really just depends of what we have because this scenario we just went to Florida a couple weeks ago and filmed for 4 or 5 days straight.
Yeah.
Because when you're on that fifth day, you're pretty beat.
Yeah,
Um,
hey.
but it's the quality of content might take a dip on those last couple days, like in our play, but it's honestly a lot better just to backlog because then you get some time off. But I don't know, we're kind of just taking it easy the end of this year, going into the next to kind of really ramp up for 2025.
It's a weird job, eh? Like where
Yeah,
you can't like you can't take time off really, but you also can't just mail it in really because it's like
I know.
so obvious if you mail it in. Like it'd be so nice to just film a video in your backyard, but you just like
hmm
your audience would be like, what the heck?
Yeah, it is weird because you feel like you never are on a break or like
Yeah.
time off. There's always something that you have to do, and it feels terrible like complaining about it almost. But
Yeah.
I mean, it is tiring, but I mean, it's a good tiring for
Yeah,
sure.
it's a champagne problem for sure. And like
Mhm.
99% of people listening to this, their immediate reaction is always like, screw you. Like you play
Yeah.
golf for a living. Like, believe me, I
Mhm.
get it. I get the same thing. But truly anything becomes a job,
Yeah.
whether you love it or not, it still has moments where you'd like a break at times. And
hmm
YouTube is just one of those weird ones where you really just can't it's very hard to just hang your hat and walk away for X amount of
Yeah.
time. There's a
I mean,
lot of influences.
it's really people because especially almost every YouTuber, it seems like, has gone through like a video that they post. I'm taking a break or I'm
Hmm.
done, I'm quitting,
Hmm.
anything.
Hmm.
It's people don't realize it until you're actually one that it is draining,
Hmm.
but it's hard to talk about because everybody's like, come on. So,
You posted a video similar to that recently, right?
yeah, yeah, I
Do you want to
did.
do you want to talk about that a little bit? Give like a brief
Sure.
overview for people who maybe
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
Yeah, I created my own channel and it was kind of just an outlet because I did edit for 2 years straight golf content, and it was incredible. I loved to edit and I love the creative side of everything, maybe more than I do golfing. And that was kind of what kept me going for those 2 years because going to every state was unbelievably tiring, especially getting home and having to edit all day. Um, so it's kind of just a little scratch to itch that I'm really excited for. And, I've got a bunch of plans for next year of what are some things that I want to do. But yeah, I'm just kind of a little creative outlet because we hired some editors for our YouTube golf channel and I haven't been able to edit or really get on that creative side. So kind of just my own little thing to see what happens.
What's it been like not editing your own videos after doing it for so long? Was it tough
It's
to
weird.
release that control?
Yeah, it was definitely at first, like the first 5, 6 months was hard
Yeah.
because had to download all the footage and get the project file and go through it and make changes and just really stupid little things that people never notice, but I will.
Hmm.
And I did that for like 6 months and it was hard to fully trust and like not even watch the video and
Hmm.
know that it's good enough to post. And I think I'm finally at that point where I don't feel like I have to watch the video if I don't have time. and we can still post and it's still a good enough product. And that's, just a bunch of practice, and obviously our guys are really good, and we've kind of shaped them to exactly what we want.
Hmm.
So they've definitely gotten a lot better, and exactly the pacing and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely at a good point now, I think, and it still is sometimes like I look at it and I'm like, oh, I wish I would have looked over this so I could have changed that. And it's some stupid little, this cart cam went for 2 seconds too long,
Oh yeah.
someone would never pick up on.
Yeah, yeah. No, but that's the stuff, man. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. Those are the moments, those
Mhm.
are the little like retention ticks that we develop as
Yeah.
creators where you're like, oh no,
Hmm.
like I want to click off right now. I can't
Exactly.
imagine what 10,000 other people or whatever want to do right now. And like those things are important, but it's also
Hmm.
like I remember Mr. Beast talked about it in an interview where he's like, everyone thinks that your style can't be recreated. He's like, it can't.
Hmm.
He's like, yeah, someone can do your job better than you for sure. It's just
Possible.
like you just have to like find the person and put in the time. But it is tough.
Hmm.
Like I've worked with editors before too, and it's like it almost creates a new job for you trying to train
Yeah.
that editor for a long time. That's almost more
Hmm.
laborsome than you just editing the videos yourself because you're still kind of editing them yourself. You're just not pressing the keys, but you're still
Hmm.
watching everything through. You're still sending all these revisions. Like
Yeah.
you might as well be doing it yourself.
Exactly. And
Just,
I felt the same way because it's almost more work
oh
sometimes
yeah.
because they send you an exported version and there's this one thing that has to be changed. Like
Hmm.
it's not just a small thing
Yeah.
that needs to be changed. It's like a little um, something major, like a typo or scores
Hmm.
wrong or something like
Hmm.
that. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to send you this revision. Then you got to re-export it, re-upload it to YouTube.
Hmm.
And maybe something else might be wrong that I missed again, So, especially keeping schedule, it's a little bit harder because I will do some, hey, this needs to be re-exported. And then
Hmm.
it'll take 4 hours to re-upload it, whatever.
Hmm.
So it's definitely more work sometimes, but in the long run, it is way less work.
Yeah. Way less work and way less. Like I've always thought it's even crazy, like creators who have one videographer and the same
Mhm.
person as an editor, because it's
Mhm.
like, so the videographer comes with you, they travel, they get on the plane, they spend
Mhm.
6 hours on the plane, they spend 3 other hours getting there, getting off the plane, whatever. You get to the Airbnb, you go to sleep. That's a whole day's work. The next day you wake up and you go film for 8 hours. You go film a match, you go film a collab, you go film whatever. They're with you the whole time.
Yeah.
Then you fly home, and it's another 6, 8 hour day. Then you get
Mhm.
home, and you, as a creator, not you, but like a creator in this position, all right, you kick your feet up for like 3, 4 days, you relax, you do
Yeah.
whatever you want. That editor still goes
Mhm.
and works like 10-hour days to try to flip that video. And so it's like the videographer editor combo is the craziest thing that I've never been able to
Mhm.
wrap my head around because it's
It
like
is.
you just never stop. Like,
Yeah.
and the creator who inevitably is going to make way more money than you from this doesn't have to work nearly half as much as you do. Like
Mhm.
it's such a crazy straight up to me, man.
Yeah.
So my point is you were doing that job. You
Yeah.
were
Too
the
long.
videographer and the editor
Uh,
together, and it is psychotic, dude. It is
yeah.
so much work. I can understand
Yeah.
what did the burnout feel like to you? When did you realize you're like, this is what I'm feeling and not just I'm
Mm,
tired or I don't like this or whatever?
I think it really was, I think when we finished, whenever I finished the last video of Hawaii, like
Yeah.
when we were completely done, I didn't have
Hmm.
any more to edit because whenever we filmed Hawaii, it was like a month and a half before we posted it. So after filming it, it was a huge relief because like, holy, we're done. Like it was a little emotional. Like we just did this for a year. Like that was crazy. And then it was like you said, you get home and you're like, oh my gosh, nobody knows we're done. Like I still got to edit this thing and it's got to be good because it's the last one. So I need to put a little bit more work into it. But I remember it was just a random day. I don't even remember what day. I think it was like a week before we were posting it. I clicked the final publish, like export, button and I was done. And it was like crazy because I felt like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders and I like got super emotional because I was like, I'm done. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
finally, I can finally chill. And I think that's when, like the next week, I was like, whoa, that was a lot. I did not realize how much like stress I was under and how much work I was doing. And like I just wasn't really having a life, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
because I couldn't even go eat dinner with my parents or my sister or family or anything. Because I was like, no, I'm sorry, I gotta work. I gotta get this video out. And I had been dating my girlfriend still at the time. I think we'd been dating for like 4 months, 5 months, somewhere around there when we finished. And I just went to her. I was like, I'm sorry, this is crazy. Like
Yeah.
I haven't even been able to see you, and we're just now starting dating. But it was definitely at that time that I was like, all right, we need to start looking for some editors because I can't do this again.
Well, that's the crazy part is like you hit that final export and you feel that
Mhm.
weight lifted off your shoulders and you say you're done. But at that time, it was, I'm done for now. I'm done
Yeah,
for a
exactly.
couple weeks, maybe. I don't know how long you take. But even then, it's like you get that looming feeling of like, and then at
Hmm.
that point, you guys had announced like the seven continents or whatever, like
Hmm.
the world tour. So it's not like the travel was going to slow down. And the other thing that's crazy is YouTube in that time frame in the last 2 years has YouTube golf has changed so much
Crazy.
from where it was. And
Hmm.
even something like the 50 states, like that worked at the time and that was such a cool
Yeah.
series. But like I feel like YouTube's even in a different place right now where like I don't know how like if that would have performed on the same level right now just because everything is like, 6-man collabs at, the biggest courses with the
Hmm.
biggest ideas. And it's evolved to a place now where I think if you were still the stress of still being the one-man band would be
Hmm.
insane right now.
Yeah. Well, it's also a good point of it has changed like crazy. It's pretty
Hmm.
wild how much it's changed in such a short amount of time. And I don't think that it would be possible, especially with the amount of like production and like huge ideas that you would now have to need. Like
Hmm.
I wouldn't have had time to
Hmm.
be able to like, all right, what do we need to do for the next month? The ideas, the collabs, like I wouldn't have had time to do that because, like you said, I don't know if the 50 states would do good now because it's just us two playing a 1v1 scramble for 50 videos.
Hmm.
Will anyone care about that? Probably not anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's just it's a comparison analysis where it's like there's every single day on YouTube Golf there's minimum probably 3 hours of
Hmm.
quality content uploaded from one of the biggest 5 to 6 creators,
Hmm.
all with over 500,000 subs. So
Yep.
those videos, we're gonna pull over 100,000 views minimum. It's actually crazy to see a lot of those creators not pulling 100,000 views sometimes,
Hmm.
but it happens. That just shows how big the space is right now. But my point is that that's 3 hours of content. People
Hmm.
have to either sift through that, or you have to get to your video, or you have to have an
Oh yeah.
idea that's bigger and better in order to get people to skip that and come to yours. But that's every
Hmm.
day. That's, the only days that maybe that doesn't happen is like Friday,
Yep.
Saturday. And you don't really want to post Friday, Saturday because it's not a
Yeah.
great day to post. So it's like,
100%. 100%. And that's a great point of there's so much content now that the videos are a lot
yeah.
longer. And it used to be, like last year, even further, we were like, all right, good's posting today. We're not posting. But now today, it's even more that of,
Oh
oh
yeah.
my gosh, Brian Rose posted today. We cannot go today. And it's just like you're playing tiptoe because you're not in that, upper echelon of Grant, Bryson,
Hmm.
those guys of
Hmm.
if you post, they're gonna watch it.
Hmm.
Because if we post and Bryson posts and Grant posts, they're not gonna watch our content first. And like the diehard fans obviously will, but majority of people are gonna go watch that an hour and a half long video of Grant, and they're not gonna have time to watch our video because it's gonna take them a whole day to finish that. So it's definitely a lot harder, being in that, middle to lower, creator, not as big as those guys because it's hard whenever they're posting and you're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna hold off another day and then oh, freaking Garrett posts with Grant. What do we do now?
How do you guys run ideation now? Because you guys have something that's very unique to you two and
Mhm.
a way that you make content and something that I personally enjoy as, I'm in my late 20s and whatever. I always enjoyed kind of the more subdued nature to a lot of your guys' content and how I could watch it in a relaxed environment, it wasn't very like in your face, blah, 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 blah. But I think a lot of the content, obviously, that's taking off at the top end is these faster paced ideas. You get
Mhm.
knocked out in one hole.
Mhm.
XYZ. Like it's more like bam, 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 bam. It has a bunch of different
Yeah.
personalities. It's cutting all the time. Do you guys try to get those videos, or do you
Um,
try to live like in your own lane, so to speak?
Kind of a little bit of both. It's really tough right now because there is such a change. It's either, it's almost you have to have a collab for people to watch now.
Hmm.
Because even if Grant posts a video just with him, it's gonna get like 50% less views because it's just him and people, I guess, want to see collabs now. And I blame Grant for that, to be
Oh yeah.
honest,
Oh yeah. 100%.
because he went on this run of getting John Rahm, Sergio, Finau, all these huge guys, and then all of a sudden, you know, we're back to just Grant. Like, I want to see all these guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's kind of set a precedent, which is great. Like, obviously, he's crushing it, and that's incredible. And he's set a bar, and
Yeah.
it's high.
Yeah.
And so now all of us are like, okay, what the heck do we do now? We can't get Tony Finau. We can't get Phil. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So we kind of had to go to the drawing board about like a week or probably 2 weeks ago. We sat down with our editor, and he he's got a great mind. I don't know if you've ever met Caden. He used to be with So Pure.
Okay, no, I don't think so. I know a
Yeah.
Caden in the space, but he worked for Good Good before, so I don't know if it's the same guy or not. Probably
No,
not.
I don't
But
think it is. I don't know if you've ever heard of So Pure. They were a smaller channel that like they did those videos of going up to you at the range. It's like,
oh
what's your
yeah, yeah,
handicap?
yeah, yeah.
Those ones went viral for them.
Is that Dude
But they
Perfect
kind of,
or not Dude
huh?
Perfect? Dude, Divot Dudes. Is that them or did they do the same idea as Sopier?
They kind of did the same idea. It was
Gotcha.
like they did like what's your handicap, then asked you a bunch of questions.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But
Gotcha,
they don't
gotcha,
do it anymore. And we
gotcha.
noticed that they didn't do it anymore about a year ago now, actually. And we're like, hey, we need an editor. We've talked to these guys a few times. They're pretty good. We reached out to him. He's like, yeah, we're not doing it anymore. I was like, would you want to work for us? He's like, heck yeah, I'm just doing real estate. Um, but he's got a super creative mind, so we always get together and especially on trips. On trips, we come up with a lot of ideas because
Hmm.
there's some downtime of us just sitting in the hotel doing nothing at night. And I think that's when our biggest ideas come is just, you know, sitting there doing nothing.
Hmm.
Oh, what about this idea? And then it expands. But we definitely have a lot of pretty cool ideas that we're excited for in 2025 of some things that's never before been seen in the golf space and kind of trying to get to that bar that Grant has set way up there and Bryson has set and kind of experiment a little bit and see how it goes. So we're excited for it.
I love that. I think that's what the name of the game is, man. Is it's like
Mhm.
you have to experiment, but you also have to like do something that's still true to you and that
Yeah.
identifies you uniquely because you guys obviously are successful for a reason. People like you for a reason. So you stay with that reason, but you try to also kind of like evolve and come up with something new and exciting. And I think it's the way creators need to move forward because no one's going to be another Grant or another Bryson. They have
Mhm.
things that are unique about them, but you can evolve what they do with your own spin on it and kind of allow that to propagate. But it is crazy to see what's happening because, like, you're talking about the Grant Finau and the Grant Collin matches and all that. Well, then we have the Selena thing, which I almost feel like might have been a tipping point of like, this has gotten too big. This has gone too far because it's like you literally had the five biggest creators in YouTube golf, minus Bryson, together filming, collabing, doing these big ideas at Selena Golf Club. And you think to yourself, you're like, this can't get any bigger. Like, what else,
Mhm.
at least in the YouTube sphere, without adding pros, could you do here? And it's just been interesting to see what those creators have done after that, because
Mhm.
it does feel like that might have been sort of a
Yeah.
pinnacle, sort of like as big as it's going to get. And then now we watch them kind of come back. So it will be interesting to see what
Yeah.
happens now.
Yeah. It's hard because, like you were saying, like, is that like the most watched video that you could have? Like, that's a crazy video. And
Hmm.
then the next week, it's, you know, you playing just yourself at some place in UK. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
why would we want to watch that when we just watched this crazy 6-man, $100,000 match, you know?
yeah. That was crazy. That was
So
crazy.
it's definitely getting to a point where it feels like you have to have something like that
Yeah.
pretty regularly. And
Hmm.
it's hard because
Hmm.
there's only so many people you can collab with, that you haven't already collabed with 5 times. That it's like, all right, I've already seen them played 2v2 with you. Like, who cares? So,
Yeah. Well, and that's what I thought that was interesting. Not spend this whole time talking about other creators in YouTube, but I feel like you and I are both YouTube nerds, so it works. But seeing Grant do the Garrett match series again,
mhm.
like that almost felt like a response to this tipping point of being
Yeah.
like, I've done the biggest and the biggest, and Garrett's a
Mhm.
big name. He's been around forever, but his channel isn't the biggest right now by any
Yeah.
stretch by views.
Hmm.
And so it was almost shocking to see Garrett or Grant do a long-term collab with him, but the only thing I can think of is he went for story first. And that could be a bit of a flip up of like all his videos have been is like view porn for the last, couple months. But these videos are different because they have story. They have like
Hmm.
something different they're offering. And it's not just the big flashy names or the big flashy ideas. It's very simple ideas, but
Hmm.
it's about a connection to the creators, and like maybe that's something that you feel is the audience feels is refreshing,
Yeah.
after having just been
Well,
off.
that's a great point, and I think that's something that we're really diving into this year is at the end of the day, people are watching you and a fan of you because of you. Like they like your personality, they like how you are on camera, and we're gonna kind of really push that to the max next year and see how it goes because it is a good point. Like, you come off these matches with Phil Mickelson and all these huge guys, and you go back to, hey, me and Garrett are going on a road trip just like the old times, and it's more, our personalities. They do like the little vlogs in the
Hmm.
beginning of it, whatever. They did great. So
Yep. Yeah,
maybe
I,
that's
I like
the
that. I
secret.
like that for you guys because I think that's something that you guys really have. And again, why I kind of tuned in is you have the personalities, you have this like ability to like connect with your audience, I think, and be, yourselves and involve your like dry comedy, especially Mason. Like he's hilarious when he's just kind of like talking about random stuff, like his
Mhm.
Chick-fil-A orders and whatnot. And like, so I think that also builds your core up super strong. And like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like as creators, we forget about it because we want the one to tens, and you don't get the one to tens by just playing to your core. But your core is the ones that give you a job. They're the ones that show up every
Mhm.
day. They're the ones that,
Yeah.
will buy your, merch or collab
Yeah.
or use your link or whatever. And that's what gives you a job. And I think it's important to also really feed into that as creators.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea or a great point because with all the different type of content that we're going to post next year, we're still going to be doing our normal 2v2s or 1v1s or scrambles or whatever, just, to satisfy those core diehard fans that, are subscribed to you for that. And get that raw stuff. So
Mhm.
that's definitely a good point.
Yeah. Well, I think even like you said with the new stuff, pushing your personalities to the max, that's what your core wants, you know? So it's
Yeah.
not even like you're getting away from it with the new stuff. But when you were feeling the burnout, like the pinnacle of it, like after pressing, upload on the last 50 stage video, was there ever a thought of like, maybe I'm just done with this? Like maybe I just want to quit?
Mm, I don't think there's ever been a thought of I want to quit the like YouTube golf because it's so, I mean, it's a dream job. I don't, there would have to be something pretty crazy happen for me to want to quit YouTube golf or just that, no one watches, obviously.
Yeah. That's
Then
more like
that
getting
that would
fired,
make
but
us
yeah.
quit as well. Yeah. Um, but no, I never did. I think it was just that overworked of, okay, I need to calm down a little bit. And then I was like, okay, I went too extreme. Because whenever we hired our editors, it was like, all right, I don't have any creative say. I don't have my hand in anything. So I think it went from one extreme to the other. And that's where I was like, all right, now I'm just kind of bored. Like I
Hmm.
don't have anything to do. I just go play golf and that's it, which is, that's obviously probably the dream for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it is the dream for me, but I love to create stuff. Like I said, probably more than golfing.
Hmm.
So that was definitely a needed outlet for me.
I think that right there is like something I can relate to heavily, but a lot of
Mhm.
creative people probably can. And like maybe people who don't understand is like, yeah, like you enjoy golf, you enjoy YouTube golf, but
Mhm.
YouTube golf also is only so creative. Like you can only
Yeah,
play golf in so
exactly.
many different ways and film in so many different ways. Whereas like the videos you're making on your personal channel, like I can see the like inner like Peter McKinnon and the inner
Mhm.
like, like true sounds
Yeah.
cliche, but like artist of it coming out. And like that's a real
Mhm.
thing. And like that's why I started making videos. Like I started making
100%.
1 minute musical, like almost music videos on Instagram, like just like musical edits. Like I love editing the music. That's like really where I feel like I shine with like my editing.
Mhm.
And, but that's like something that like it's not really an itch I scratch on a day-to-day basis. And every once in a while, I feel like coming up and I'll just randomly edit a vlog, like a vlog that's like
Yeah.
super time, super Casey, super, you know, cut in a way that like really feels like it scratches that itch. And I think as creators, we like always have these like circular desires where if you get away from it too much, it always pulls you back in. And that's just like the
Yeah.
inner creative being like, hey,
Yeah.
do something.
Yeah. And that's a great point of golf is only so creative
Yeah.
because, you get into the rhythm of, all right, let me do the rough cut, let me do tracers, let me do the graphics. And it's like, all right, that's it. Throw some music in there. You can't really do too much with it
Yep.
because it's just golf.
Hmm.
And that's what really excites me with this new stuff is I I can do anything. Like
Hmm.
if I want to do a vlog, I did a vlog. I want to do a documentary, did a document the documentary. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, you're good. The limit does not exist. You can literally create whatever it is
Yeah,
you want. And you don't have to worry about views either because you have
exactly.
BustaJack.
Yeah.
BustaJack's your business. This is just your passion project, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, if it gets no views, fine. I'm still happy creating. If it gets a lot of views, and heck yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
It's almost like this might sound weird, but like you almost like don't want it to get a lot of views though, because I feel like the trap we fall into is then if it gets a lot of views, then you look at it and you're like, oh, why did it get a lot of views? Oh, that video got a lot of views. I should make another one like that to get more
Yeah.
views. And then you just like all of a sudden it's another,
Yeah, you're back
YouTube
in.
machine channel and you're like,
Mhm.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Like you almost have to like be the real like
Yeah.
artist and like fight against it and but
Yeah.
it's
Well,
also
and
hard
it,
to argue with.
I'm not, I'm not gonna try to, obviously posting consistently is important, but not like I need to post at least once a week and trying to kill myself editing this video that, might get 1,000 views.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just whatever. I'm excited for it for sure.
What do you think's going to happen at the top of YouTube golf this year? Because I feel like there's definitely going to be a bit of a squeezing out, or there has been, where there's been, take every channel with over 500,000 subscribers in YouTube golf. They're
Mhm.
not all pulling, hundreds of thousands of views
Yeah.
all the time. Some of them are, barely scratching 100,000 here and
Yeah.
there. Some are getting more. Do you think
Yeah.
we're just going to have a couple that like pop to this new A tier and the rest are going to go to a
Um,
B tier? Or how do you think that's going to shake out?
I think that's there's definitely gonna be a lot of like smaller channels probably die off in the next year or two, just because there is so much content being put out right now. And I don't know. I think it's definitely gonna start to become less content in the next year or two, just because we always say that there's enough eyeballs to go around. But in the golf space, there's only a certain amount of people that will watch golf. So I definitely think that the bigger names will get bigger just because, live golf is seeming to open up a little bit more with their players and allowing them to play. So those bigger names are just going to get bigger names. And I do think that, a lot of medium, smaller tier are going to struggle. Like we struggled at the end of this year just because Grant was going crazy and we're like, all right, we can't keep up with this because all we've got John, Rom, and Grant, and then we're posting a 1v1 at who knows where in Florida. Like, who cares about that when you can watch John Rom? Um, so yeah, I mean, I think there'll definitely be some shifts this year of getting bigger and getting smaller, or whatever. And I hope that we're riding on the getting bigger train.
If there was, and it's probably a hard one to think of on the spot, maybe you've already given it some thought, but if there was a zero subscriber channel out there that was going to break through this year, what do you think they'd be doing? What do you think they'd be making in the golf space that would be unique and different enough to actually propel them potentially? Obviously, we're just speculating here, but to that level. Or is there anything?
That's a hard question
It is, I
because
know. I'll give you an example while you think. I've said this year that I think, not necessarily this year, 2025, but at some point in the near future, if YouTube Golf continues on the same trajectory it is, which is these big collabs, these 3 hour videos, whatever, there's going to be a Sam Sulek type creator in golf that breaks through. Something that's very, what seems like raw, boring, unedited, but might just be refreshing enough, individual enough to hold some weight and potentially breakthrough.
yeah,
That's because to me, that's one of the last things that's like open right now. Is there really isn't anybody almost going back to what it was a decade ago with
yeah,
like more raw style course
for sure.
vlogs.
And I think a lot of pro golfers
Mhm.
next year are going to be making channels
Could you imagine
because
if
you
like
already
Scotty
see
Scheffler started a channel?
he
Be game
did.
over. No, I said, could you imagine if he
Oh,
did?
oh my gosh, exactly. Like I think there'll be a lot more professional golfer channels next year. Because seeing Phil and Grant doing
Hmm.
their series, who knows who's going to come up? Maybe a Matt Wolf or Ricky Fowler or whoever
Charlie
is going to be
Woods,
like, all
that'd be
right,
killer.
yeah, I want to get in this game because it sounds fun and Bryson's getting crazy amount of exposure. The only problem with that is they don't need the money at
Mm,
all. So, YouTube revenue, that's nothing to them. So it'll probably definitely be more smaller guys, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure Liv's pushing that hard this year of,
for sure.
hey, we need you guys to get into more content.
I think Bryson is a very it's not a good example for them to follow though, because I do
Hmm.
think Bryson is a unicorn in the sense that he does have this aura around him of like
Hmm.
everything that happened in years past where he was kind of hated to now,
Hmm.
flipping it up. Like initially he got interest probably on his channel because a lot of people still were like this loser, but then they kind of realized, oh, he's actually kind of cool and interesting, and they fell in love and they flipped, and we saw that at the U.S. Open this year and at
Mhm.
um, all the majors really. But I think also it's not, no offense to Bryson, but his channel is mainly Chase, his videographer editor, in terms of the ideation and the
Mhm.
execution of it. Like
Yeah.
I can't say that with certainty, I guess, but like I'm assuming that the professional golfer who's never given YouTube probably a thought in his
Yeah.
entire life isn't the one that's executing this at this high level.
Mm.
Chase is obviously going to be able to like ask for his price with his next job, and he's going to be like the most sought after, editor in
Yeah.
YouTube, I think. And not every pro golfer is going to be able to have that. And I think
Mhm.
the thing where we see run into issues, I don't know how much you remember back in the day, but like, in the height of Casey Neistat daily vlogging and YouTube in that space, there was the same conversation with just celebrities. Like, oh, celebrities are going to come into YouTube and just ruin it. Every celebrity is going to start a channel. Who's going to care about us? We're not celebrities. Well, YouTube
Mhm.
celebrities, but
Yeah.
and then Will Smith came in. He kind of did
Mhm.
it okay, but then a couple others came in and they just hired a production company. They tried to
Mhm.
do it like Hollywood. They mailed it in. It wasn't personal. It wasn't attached to them,
Didn't feel like it.
and nobody cared because it's
Mhm.
there's a certain level of like connection to a creator you need on YouTube and
Yeah.
what makes it what it is.
100%.
So I also feel like if a big name pro golfer came in, the odds that they do something like Bryson did, I think, is so small because
Yep.
it's so hard to do.
It
And
is.
I wouldn't be surprised if like Colin Morikawa started a channel. He got a bunch of views in his first video, maybe a second video, and then his
Yeah.
third video gets 20,000 views. Like, yeah, I think people would be surprised how little they would care if Colin just like posts like a chipping
I agree.
technique video, you know?
I agree. Because there's always that personable feeling, and that's what's so hard with it is, if a pro golfer does come out, like you said, Colin, who cares in
Yeah.
a month,
Hmm.
you know? But I don't know. We'll see. I'm really curious how it's going to go, and with the tour doing the creator council or whatever the heck they're calling it, it's there is some exciting stuff that they have planned for 2025. I know that they're doing the queue again, that like qualifying thing at Myrtle Beach, and I think they're wanting to do the Creator Classic. Isn't that what they called it at
Yep.
East Lake?
Hmm.
I think they're wanting to do more of those. So it's definitely trending in the right direction for content creators and stuff the like, but we'll see. I mean, if you look at the match that they just had, that was supposed to be a huge thing. I watched the first two holes. I was like, this is garbage. This is, I didn't hear Rory talk one time in
Yeah.
two holes. I'm like,
Yeah.
you have one of the biggest golfers in the world. Why are you not just letting him talk?
Yeah.
It's wild. So we'll see if they ever actually understand and get past the broadcast, the
Hmm.
traditional, style, like you said, with the celebrities of trying to make it Hollywood. That's
Yeah.
not what people want to see on YouTube.
No, and I mean, I think that's even transitioning now to like, that's not, like you said, that's not even what people want to see on broadcast anymore. Like,
Yeah,
that match, I agree. Like, it would have been so much better if everyone was hot mic the entire time. Like, just nonstop audio feeds. Like, take out the commentaries and just let the
exactly.
players talk. Like,
Yeah.
make it like have everyone with a camera on them at all
Yeah.
times and make it like
Yeah,
a YouTube video.
we don't have any commentators on our
No,
YouTube videos. Just let them talk.
it's crazy, man. And like even like this year, like dude, the Creator Classic to me was other than the stakes of knowing each creator and knowing
Mhm.
feeling like especially because I kind of like know almost all of them. It's like,
Mhm.
you have some sort of personal investment of like, oh, like I really want to see them do well. Oh, they just made a bogey,
Yeah.
whatever. Take that away from me, and it was
Mhm.
boring. Like it was a
Yeah.
bunch of people who relatively aren't very good at golf playing. I shouldn't say that. They are good at golf, but you know what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
it's not PGA Tour level golfers, but they're
Mhm.
playing in a PGA Tour style, which like
Mhm.
even like I don't watch Corn Ferry events. Those are really good golfers, but like I don't watch that because it's boring because it's not, the top 10 golfers in the world. and they're playing in this format that really only works for the top 10 golfers in the world. And even there, they're trying to evolve it a little bit by doing those like hole
Mhm.
by hole interviews after a player hits a tee shot.
Yeah.
For the Creative Classic, the fact that it didn't have you guys all hot mic'd 24/7 with a camera on you,
Mhm.
it's like you missed out so big.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really crazy to me that like the PGA Tour and all these huge companies that don't come to us, like come to Chase, go to Skylar and Carney and all the editors for the YouTubers for like, hey, we want to make this like a YouTube video. We want to
Hmm.
feel like it's a YouTube video. What do we need? What do we do? Because they know how to make they can do a broadcast like it's nothing. And they do a
Hmm.
fantastic job at it, obviously, but that's not what they want to see on YouTube. If they're wanting to get more into the content YouTube space, they need to know how to do YouTube content because they know how to do broadcasts. They do it extremely well. But do people want to watch that? They didn't want to watch the match, that's for sure.
Yeah. What's your general take on live events? Because that's something in the last year or two that's crept into YouTube golf. I know we just kind of covered it, but
It's
what's your
tough.
general take on it?
It's tough to make it interesting because
Hmm.
what we have that live streams don't have on YouTube is the editing. Because golf is so slow and traditionally boring, it's hard to fill that space with something interesting. Because if we don't have anything to say driving to our ball for a minute, we can cut it out in a YouTube video. So that's why they obviously have the commentators and all that extra stuff to try to make it interesting while we're going to the golf ball. But it's hard. I don't know the answer to that because it's never been done really. And maybe it's just ditching all, like you're saying, no commentators, just ditching everything and it just being a super raw hot mic the whole time. See what happens.
Yeah, totally. How's this is a bit of a pivot? How's it been? Because you're one of the first creators I've talked to. I mean, Brian Bros, but it doesn't really count because they're brothers. How's being after years now of doing it full time? How's the relationship been with Mason of being like co-creators on a channel? Like, has that
Mhm.
been good? Has that been hard at times? I'm sure it's been both.
Yeah.
What is that? I feel like it's kind of a unique thing to you guys, to truly share a channel and not be related by blood,
Yeah.
at least in YouTube
No.
golf.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely been mostly great times. Some, are tough, obviously, whenever we're traveling and tired and don't want to talk to each other. Um, but it's definitely a lot of time spent together. I think the 50 states we spent a lot of time. Probably, I was joking at his wedding actually that we've probably spent more time together than him and his wife that year. Um, so it was definitely a lot. And whenever we're on trips, it's great. We're coming up with ideas, just being like friends, like usual. But when we're home, it's definitely more distance because we are together all the time.
Hmm.
When we're home, we got to see our family, see our friends, all that stuff. But I mean, it's great. No, no issues here, no complaints here, and we're still doing the thing.
That's good, man. It's unique, I think. I think it's unique for that dynamic to work as well as it has for you guys for as long as it has, because I think especially like from a creative standpoint, like you really have to learn how to mesh together because like
Mhm.
you both theoretically have equal say, but if you both have equal say and you both have different ideas, it can lead to issues, you know?
Yeah.
How have you guys run developing and going through ideation and creation and deciding, what actually gets executed? And do you ever run into issues where it's like one of you really wants to do something, the other doesn't, and then it's
Mhm.
kind of like sour beans, back and forth?
Yeah. No, there's definitely a lot of those times, especially like titles and thumbnails and stuff.
Mhm.
It's always like, no, this one's way better. Like, trust me, put this word in. So
Trust
it's
me.
like small things like that that we definitely butt heads on. But at the end of the day, probably doesn't really matter that we went with one title, we went with this title, and it's like, oh, we'll just change it in a couple hours if it's not doing well. But it's not, it's nothing crazy because it's really built around just the ideation meetings where we're all together. Having Caden as a third party has helped a lot actually,
Hmm.
because we're always like, you're the other guy. Which one do we want to go with? So that's actually helped a lot with ideation and choosing the titles and thumbnails and stuff. Because if we ever disagree, we always look to Caden and see what he thinks. Or, if we really disagree on something, we'll reach out to whoever, that we trust with something like Bradley or one of our guys we used to work with and really get their idea because that can get definitely butted heads there sometimes.
How much effort do you guys, or how much, I don't want to say effort, but like how much intention, I guess, do you put into every title and thumbnail on YouTube?
A lot. I think the for the last year we had a guy specifically for titles and thumbnails that's all he did
Hmm.
was give me the thumbnail idea and the title idea, and then I'll make the thumbnail and we'll have the title ready. And that was huge. That helped a lot. But it's more important than the video sometimes. The title and thumbnail, and I know a lot of YouTubers can relate to that, and it's gotten to that point even more now that if you just have a random thumbnail, no one's going to click on it, and it's not how YouTube used to be a while ago. Because last year we would just throw our faces up there in Montana, and people would click on it. So it's definitely a higher priority thing that we have to do now. And almost we almost think of ideas in titles. So it's like, here's an idea, and then we say the title of the video. So it's not like we're saying the idea of the video, we're thinking in titles because that's how
Hmm.
important they are.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very true, dude. Even like with these interviews, like this is an interview with you. That was an interview with Wesley. It was an interview with George. It's an interview with Grant. I just want to say the Grant Horvath
Yeah.
interview or the Cole Lance interview or whatever. But
Mhm.
it's like if I don't come up with a little
Yeah.
like and it has to be kind of almost like, oh, what's happening? Like, like what really happened with
Yeah.
BustaJack featuring
Mhm.
Cole? Like, if it's not that, then it's
Yeah.
gonna get like 25% of the views. And all I did was put a title in there that's
Yeah.
like a little bit like
It,
spicy. And and obviously I know my channel kind of came to be by like having really good titles and like it is
yeah.
one of the things I do best, but it doesn't mean it's not annoying, especially as I feel like my
Yeah.
channel's evolved and I'm doing less like I don't really cover news and stuff as much anymore. Like if
Mhm.
something really big happens, I'll talk about it, but it's more interviews. It's a bit more about my competitive golf journey now. So those
Mhm.
videos, I really just want a title. I played
I
in a
know.
tournament or, I interviewed Cole. Like that would be so much
Yeah.
easier. And like,
Yeah.
but yeah, you just can't.
Yeah. It's tough. And that's always like I have a list in my phone, and usually like it would be obviously just a list of ideas,
Mhm.
but it's a list of titles
Oh yeah.
because that's how important they are. Of like, this has to be the right title, and then you develop the idea from the title
Yeah.
almost. It's crazy.
Well, that's one of the things I started working as a consultant in the last, kind of like you said, you had a title thumbnail guy. I started doing that for people a couple years ago, and I have a couple guys in the space that I've worked with for a long time now, and I do that for them. It's like I come up with their titles, I come up with their thumbnails,
Yeah.
and then I kind of help them also manage everything. So like make sure their team's working on time and whatever, semi leadership role. But my point
Mhm.
is that the first thing I try to implement with channels when I come in, if they're not already doing it, is like our process has to be idea first, but idea through title. Like it
Yeah.
has to, because that is, you have to go in order from what people, your viewer, are going to experience. And if the title mainly the thumbnail as well, because you see the thumbnail first usually. So it's technically thumbnail, title, then
Hmm.
idea. But if those three things aren't lined up, synced up, they aren't relating to each other, but they also aren't one after the other reinforcing something that's going to intrigue you,
Yeah.
then everything else you did, the like 8 hours you spent filming, the 8 hours you spent traveling, the 16 hours you spent editing, worthless because someone's not
Mhm.
going to click on it. And that packaging component is so unbelievably important. And so many creators, even with that being the case, they'll get an idea 30 minutes before they start playing. Then they'll show up to the first tee, they'll film the
Mhm.
video, they'll edit it, and then they'll be like, "So what do we title thumbnail this?" It's just like it's over. It's over at that
Yeah.
point. Like you've lost it because like you also
Yeah.
need like another thing I really work on with creators is like you have to have in the first 10 to 15 seconds something audibly that or visually that reinforces why people clicked. And so if
Mm.
you don't have an intro that matches your title thumbnail, which you can only do if you come up with a title thumbnail beforehand, then you also lose a ton of people to, first 10-second retention, which
Mhm.
completely decimates your recommendation pool. So it's just like this whole intro that's very inside baseball for people who aren't YouTubers, but like that is a huge focus that we need to have when we're thinking of these ideas,
Yeah. It's tough because we could show up to the golf course with had no idea a year and a
hmm
half ago
hmm
and just be like, oh yeah, maybe something will happen. We can title it chip in or craziest 1v1 we've had or whatever.
Yeah.
To now, you can't. Like if like we had a when we were in Florida, we were hoping that we could film with Grant. Like it was a possibility. It was kind of gonna kind of be if he could or couldn't. And we were trying to think of all these ideas that we could do with him. And we got word the day before that we are filming with him. Like, all right, we got to get this down. So we it's actually being posted today.
Ooh,
But it's we started him 5 under, so we flipped his idea on him.
I
So
love
we
that.
played a best ball, and he started 5 under by himself, and see if we could beat him.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm actually interested to see how that went. Yeah, I mean, I think you get even like that's a great example of like that's a golden goose opportunity for sure. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
the biggest creator right now. Like that's a lot of pressure on that video
Mm-hmm.
to like,
Yeah.
because that could
Gotta
bring
be
in
right.
ton of
Yeah.
money, ton of subscribers, ton of everything. So it's like, oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. So titles are definitely extremely important now.
What of next year, before I let you go, what of next year can you tease of some of these things that you're saying are going to
Mhm.
be different, exciting? Is there anything you don't have to, obviously, but if there's anything you want to give out to people, that's a little
Um,
tease.
it will be soon, actually.
Okay.
When do you think you'll be posting this? Pretty soon?
Yeah, probably after New Year's, probably like Thursday or Friday.
It will be in January for sure when
Okay,
you know. Um, but I think we're wanting to, so we kind of have like two separate things. One, a bigger, longer term type thing that we're really excited about that could is something that no one's ever done before
cool.
in the golf space that we're very excited about. And then the other one is kind of we're wanting to do kind of like elevated videos, like higher production, put some money into it, hire some, producers possibly to help us with some certain things. So really just like I said, trying to raise that bar that's way up there now and make some things that golf has never seen before and extremely different, but still definitely, having us showing our personality and why you've subscribed, like you were talking about. But it's gonna be fun.
Hey, well, dude, I appreciate it. I look forward to it. Thanks for coming on today. Happy New Year.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me and Happy New Year to you as well.
Thanks, buddy.